Yo guys, welcome back. As you guys can see, I'm in my room. I'm finally making my return. Have all of our stuff now, and I'm now living in a completely different location. It was like a whole thing. Um, yeah, no, it was kind of a crazy last few months. That's why I didn't upload. If you guys saw my last couple of videos, I talked about my moving a little bit. Um, Downsizing some of my library a little bit, and I've largely been cutting down on buying books. So it's just been a whole thing. So in this video, I sort of wanted to talk about my plans moving forward with the channel, with my reading plans, how I'm approaching reading, all that kind of stuff, because I don't want to leave this channel in the dust like I have in the past with my other main channel. There was like a period of like a year, over a year, or something like that, probably about a year, that I just did not upload whatsoever, just because I was burnt out. And I felt a little bit burnt out with reading in this channel, so yeah, I want to make sure that I'm, if not, super consistent, I'm at least making videos a couple times a month. That sort of thing. So I'm kind of getting off track here, jumping right into it. That's sort of what I wanted to talk about in today's video. I'm gonna sort of do a second video, like I guess a part 2, talking about last year. But this video is specifically to talk about 2025 goals for the channel, and reading goals as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about reading, right? There was a video that I made talking about what books I'm going to be bringing with me. And I did that video. I had like a list of books that I did end up bringing with me in my suitcase. And I was going to read those in the event that, we ended up having to live in the hotel for a very long time, which was a real possibility. Luckily, when we got here, we only ended up waiting in the hotel for like about a month, because we got here at the beginning of November, so it was like a month and a half-ish, and then we left. We moved in the middle to end of December. So we were only there for like a month and a half, and then we ended up getting all of our stuff in like a couple days prior to Christmas, so at the very end of December. So needless to say, I did not read a lot of those books. In fact, I was dealing with sort of a bit of a mental health crisis during that time. I'm still dealing with stuff that's not been fun, but it took a lot of the motivation for reading out of me, and I wasn't making content. I wasn't really being my most productive self, so most of that stuff I just did not read. That's not to say that I didn't make any progress or did zero reading. I just, that was enough books for me to read over the course of 7 months, or something like that, right? And I just barely touched them in the month and a half that I ended up actually being in the hotel. That being said, I also picked up a new hobby, being comics. I started reading and collecting comics, which gave me sort of a new creative outlet, I guess. I was able to revive my older main channel, my MLG Man channel, which you guys should definitely check out if you're into comics and manga and alternative sorts of literature and media. I cover that kind of stuff on the main channel, like TV shows, manga, anime, a bunch of other nerdy stuff. That's the channel for that. And getting into comics just gave me something new and fresh to get into. So while that was really cool, and I've been collecting comics over the last few months, and reading them as well. It also has taken away a lot of my time from reading novels, and I just haven't been that much into novels, which is why I sort of wrestled with the idea of bringing this channel back. Just because if I'm not reading, then there's not really content to be had, stuff to talk about, and I sure as hell don't need to be buying books if I'm not reading them. And that's a whole nother issue that I might talk about here in a moment. But yeah, I just haven't really been reading novels, so that's the main reason why it's, been kind of iffy of whether or not I would come back for a while. Yes, I'm still in the process of reading Oathbringer. That has not changed. I did make quite a bit of progress through that book. I got like another 20% of the way through. I think I was at 50 back in October. And then now I'm sitting at like 70%, so I still haven't finished the book. I'm waiting on Kayla to catch up a little bit more with me, but I have a full intention on finishing that book here very soon. I know I say that, and I have said that over the last 6 months. This book has also just kind of defeated me. And now I have more motivation to read it because I am trying to ease into reading. That sort of a philosophy that I'm taking up is to not, and I've talked about this before also, but just trying not to read for anybody else but myself. I've thought about the idea of doing book clubs and stuff like that, or like starting a Patreon and doing Patreon reads, and that's something that seems to work for a lot of booktubers. But just being the person that I am, I don't think that I'm ever actually going to do that. Just thinking about it, because how I approach my channel is that it's just an outlet for me to read what I want to read, and you guys happen to be tagging along. That's the way that I think about it. I don't want my reading to feel transactional, like you guys, like I have to read because, ultimately because I promised, but also because you guys say I should read something. That's not to say also that I won't take recommendations and stuff, or that authors can't send me books and stuff. Just note that if you guys recommend me something or send me your work, it probably won't be read for a long time, if at all, if I ever get to it. Just realistically speaking, I read what I want to read when I want to read it, and that's sort of also why I went away with TBRs and that kind of stuff. I was just I do this to myself. I just set high expectations for my reading and my channels and stuff, and then ultimately get overwhelmed with a large project. I was supposed to do that video about the bookstore battle thing. It was an awesome video idea, I think, but I got overwhelmed and then ended up never doing it. Same with the big Warhammer review I was going to do. Got overwhelmed, never did it. So that's something that I struggle with predominantly, and I'm going to try to remedy that this year just by easing back into reading and doing reviews, doing videos when I can, and trying not to feel bad about it. That's the main thing, is I end up feeling bad, and it sort of, I guess, how do I put this? I get overwhelmed and stressed about making content when I don't really need to be. This is just a hobby of mine. And then I get overwhelmed about not doing it, so then I just don't do it. Yeah, I guess that's sort of how I am. But anyway, I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. Doesn't make it any less, true. But yeah, anyways, Oathbringer, I'm finishing it soon. I'm finally getting into the part of the book that the Sanderlanche, that's supposed to be the best part of the book. I doubt my review is going to be very glowing. I'll just outright say that. This book has defeated me As far as like my motivation to read, it has defeated my motivation on several attempts. That's why I've picked up so many other books over the course of me trying to read this. I started Oathbringer, I think in May of 24, and it is January of 24. So here in 4 months, I would have been reading this book for a year, which is insane. Needless to say, I'm burnt out with Stormlight Archive a little bit and Sanderson's work, and I just want to get that book over with finally and explore other universes and stuff, which whenever I'm not going to go too much more in depth with that because I am going to do an Oathbringer review. That is something I want to do, and talk about my feelings about the Cosmere and about Oathbringer in particular, and just how that sort of killed my motivation to read overall. But yeah, I'm trying not to let that defeat me. I'm bringing it back. What am I reading right now, actually? So I'll show you guys. I am currently reading Flight of the Eisenstein. This is book 4 of the Horus Heresy for Warhammer. In a lot of ways, Warhammer has actually kind of saved me in my reading. I've just been, like, over the summer I got pretty into Warhammer. I made a video about it when I read the first 3 books. And then I kind of dropped it a little bit, just because I didn't have many people to talk to, and I don't know, there was just a lot going on and all that. But lately, I've been getting more back into Warhammer and stronger than ever, because I have a friend at work that's into it, and him and I talk about Warhammer, and so I picked up Flight of the Eisenstein, which a lot of people could see it as a negative, and that's what I've seen, but for me it works out, because a lot of this book sort of recaps some of those events from the 3rd book, which I read over the summer. So me picking this up now at the beginning of the year, or was it late December or something like that, I don't remember. I think it was, yeah, a week ago or something. So here in January, so probably 5 or 6 months later, a little recap is actually not bad. It's a little nice. So yeah, I might do another Warhammer video talking about that. But yeah, this has sort of been a great way for me to get back into reading. These Warhammer novels are written very well. I love the characters. The plot is interesting, and they're just nice short little reads. So that's sort of the first thing I'm reading this year. I want to talk about also things that I want to read this year, things I want to get to, and you know, I probably won't get to all of these things, just because my mind is sort of split between different hobbies. And before I move on, actually, that brings up another point. As the kind of person I am, as I hyperfixate on one thing at a time, and it's hard for me to dabble in multiple hobbies at once. I sort of hyper focus on one and then neglect the others, which that kind of sucks. But this year, I'm really trying to be more fair with my hobbies and be like, you know what, it's okay to not read a novel this week and focus on reading comics, or focus on checking out manga. I want to get back into manga and stuff, you know, and then pick up a novel whenever I feel like it, and not be so strict on myself, because at the end of the day, it's just a hobby. I'm just recording me doing my hobby stuff, talking about it. You know, this isn't my job. You know, I don't have to stick to reading one thing. There's just expectations that I set up for myself in my brain. But fuck it. I mean, this is just, like I said, just my hobby. So, yeah. That's something I'm going to try to be more fair with myself about. Yeah. Anyway, so with the books this year, I'm probably not going to get to everything, but there are some things that I would love to get to this year. Firstly, I guess I don't have it because it's not out yet, but Red God is supposed to be coming out this year, supposedly. The final book of Red Rising, and Red Rising is one of my favorite series ever. It's amazing. I read a lot of those. The first three I read back in 2023 in December there, and I read books 4 through 6 last year. Yeah, absolutely love it. The final book is supposed to come out this year, as long as it doesn't get delayed and Pierce Brown delivers, which I'm sure he's working extremely hard on it. Just haven't heard a lot about it for a while, so I'm hoping that it comes out this year. Maybe it's almost wrapped up. Maybe it might take a little bit longer. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised, because Lightbringer only came out a couple years ago now. So if it doesn't come out until maybe even next year, that would kind of suck, but I would understand. But at the moment, I think it is still slated for 2025, maybe late 2025. Unsure. But as long as it does come out this year, that is an absolute priority for me, is getting Red God and reading that, because, like I said, I absolutely love Red Rising. Secondly, I still haven't gotten to it yet, but I really want to. Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne, the finale of the Bloodsworn trilogy. Bloodsworn Saga I read again back in 2023, and largely was responsible for getting me more into reading and fantasy and whatnot. I love Viking stuff. Fantasy is awesome, and at least Shadow of the Gods, I had more criticisms about Hunger, but Shadow of the Gods was just awesome. It's one of my favorite book series, and I was desperately waiting for that third book. I just haven't been able to read it just yet. That is one of the next things I am going to read. At the moment, the way that my reading is slated is I'm going to finish Eisenstein here. I'm going to try to finish Oathbringer, and then get to Fury of the Gods. That's the plan at the moment. So I don't know what to expect, really. I've seen some reviews that are kind of iffy, so that has me a little worried. I've seen a lot of 3-4 star reviews, haven't seen many 5-star reviews, but I'm sure I'll love it. I'm a simple man, really. When it comes to reading, it is not very hard to grab my attention, I don't think, because I like most of the stuff that I read. It's kind of rare that I read something that I don't like, so I really like the first 2 books, so I'm sure it's going to be great. But yeah, that is slated to be one of my upcoming reads. Next up, one of my favorite, I say one of my favorite, but one of my most exciting reads, and that is the Sun Eater series by Christopher Ruocchio. Now, I was supposed to read these last year, but I sort of, the second half of 2024 was super lame, and I barely got any reading in. I got a few books in over the summer, but then, like, the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months of 2024, I basically didn't read anything. So, at least for novels. So yeah, Sun Eater I was supposed to read last year and just never ended up finishing it. But I did read Empire of Silence in the spring of last year, and I liked it, but overall was kind of iffy about it. But what I've heard is that that's absolutely valid. And then I read The Lesser Devil. I think at the beginning of the summer, sometime maybe in June or July, I read The Lesser Devil, and I also enjoyed it quite a bit for it being a novella. I thought it had strengths, the huge strengths in the world building and the characters. It was just a very fun read, so I really liked the world of Sun Eater, and I think the characters are sick, and I've heard it only gets better, so I've got Howling Dark. I'm looking off to the side of my bookshelf here. I've got Howling Dark slated to be read this year, at the very least, and I do want to read Queen of Mid Ashes, and I've heard Demon in White is probably the best book in the series, so I at least want to read those first few books in the series this year. Whether or not I get to books 4 through 6, or I mean 7 is supposed to be coming out late this year, so I doubt I'll get to 7, but there's always a possibility. But yeah, Sun Eater, I don't know if I'll get to the last few books in the series, but I at least want to read the next couple. Yeah, because I do want to explore different avenues. But knowing me, when it comes to reading, like I said, I like to hyperfixate. So whenever I get into a series, as long as the books aren't like absolutely massive, I pretty much binge the series and then move on to the next one. These books are pretty big though, so I don't know. But who knows? It might be a Red Rising situation where I read all of the books like back to back to back to back. Which that in itself did burn me out a little bit towards the end there. But anywho, yeah, I hope to get to Sun Eater because, again, it's a world that I really enjoy. And from the first 1.5 books, I guess you could say, yeah, I really liked it. So Sun Eater is also slated for this year. Moving on, let's talk about some historical fiction for a second. There are some things that I have wanted to read for a very long time, just never got around doing it, and I think this is the year to do so, just because it's a bunch of short and sweet novels. I need to get back into reading my Bernard Cornwell. If you guys don't know, Bernard Cornwell is one of my all-time favorite authors. Saxon Tales, the story of Uhtred Uhtredson and the homie Finnan, and just talking about it, brings back some awesome memories from reading the Saxon Tales series. It's one of my favorites of all time as well. He has some other shit that I just never got around to, and I know that I've needed to, being Warlord Chronicles, which a lot of people say is a masterpiece. It's only a trilogy too, talking about King Arthur. I love the Arthurian legend, so that's one that I really want to get to this year, as well as the tetralogy of Archer's Tale, which is another one that, people I don't really hear talk about all that often, especially, at least compared to Saxon Tales and Warlord Chronicles, but my dad has read it, and he said that it's good, so I trust my dad's word on a lot of stuff book related. Yeah, Archer's Tale just sounds freaking dope, so that's another one I want to read. Those are really the only Cornwell stuff that I'm interested in. I don't really care about the Starbuck Chronicles or the Sharp books or the Seafaring shit, or some of his like essay type historical stuff, because I know he did the Waterloo book. Like, I don't really care about much of that stuff, like the Napoleonic and the Civil War stuff, and I don't know. I like medieval stuff. That's what I like Cornwell for. So, sort of to round out my Cornwell medieval reading, yeah, those two series, Warlord Chronicles and Archer's Tale. 7 books total for two series is not bad, and they're really short. When I say really short, they're just digestible novels that he writes. So yeah, I'm excited to finally finish off my sort of Cornwell reading list. And in a similar vein, one that is definitely upcoming, quite possibly even after I read Fury of the Gods. It's one that I want to get to because my dad and I sort of made a little bit of a deal, and that is for me to read the Genghis series by Connie Goulden, and that's one that I was also supposed to get to last year. It was on my second half of 2024 list, but like I said, barely read anything in the second half of the year. Really want to get to that, and the whole deal that I made with my dad is that if I read that 5-book series, again, similarly length books that seem easily digestible, If I read those, he would read Red Rising. So there we go. Get my dad to read Red Rising. And I read Genghis, which I've also heard is amazing. I know Patrick Leo here on BookTube has also read the Genghis series, and I've heard good things from him about it, from my dad about it. So it seems really sick. And yeah, I'm going to be reading that one upcoming. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Moving on, just a few things. There's a few more books, because if I say any more than this, really, it starts to get a little unrealistic. I'm trying to stay within the realm of possibility here, because I just really don't see myself reading very much, because I'm, the busiest I've ever been in my life as of late. So I'm trying to keep it realistic. Again, I might not get to everything here. Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. This is one that I really, really want to read. I like vampire type stories, at least the cool ones, and not the stupid ones that Twilight kind of opened the floodgates for. I like dope shit that's like Castlevania, that's like Blade, talking about daywalkers fucking up, like killing vampires and vampire hunters and stuff, that Vampire Hunter D, that kind of shit that's like dope, that's actually cool, that kind of stuff. I'm into that, and Empire of the Vampire seems like that kind of story. And as far as I'm aware, I think Jay Kristoff finished up writing the third book, which is the finale. And I think that is also slated to be released this year, the finale of that trilogy. So, yeah, I want to read that series. I've heard it's amazing. The homie, Andrews Wizardly Reads, talked about it. I think either in the early fall or late summer, I can't remember, he read the first book, not thinking he was going to enjoy it, and absolutely loved it. So that's a great incentive. I say incentive, but like I guess a good incentive to read it. That's a good review, that's good press. So yeah, and just hearing about it, it seems like something that I would love. And also the real reason why I wanted to read it is just those covers, man. Those US covers, a lot of people don't like them. I've heard a lot of people love the UK covers, which, yeah, they're pretty good. But those US covers are sick. I don't know why people clowning on them with, like, the blood magic animals and stuff, and, like, the colors on them. They're just beautiful. I don't understand why a lot of people don't like those covers. Yeah, I couldn't tell you, but Empire of the Vampire is pretty high on my priority list this year to read, so that's another one. Moving on to some stuff that I was supposed to read last year that was in that I'm Bringing With Me video. Between Two Fires, that's another one, a standalone that I wanted to read. Also Lonesome Dove, that was a pretty big one that I had fully intended on reading early on in my trip. But yeah, just didn't get to it, and that's really disappointing to me. Lonesome Dove is one that I've wanted to check out for a while, and it would have been perfect for the time. But yeah, like I said, just had a lot of shit going on, literally and up here, so didn't work out. So that's also one, if I can get to it this year, that'd be sick. Yeah, just looking at my shelves, that's probably about it that I'm gonna realistically be able to get to. Some of the stuff I might, again, not even get to. If I can fit it in, maybe even Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne, though I doubt starting a tetralogy when I'm trying to tie up a little bit of loose ends. I doubt that starting a whole new series would be very smart. A couple of things that I do want to mix in this year, or some Warhammer books here and there, because I have been getting into Warhammer quite a bit, and they're short, sweet, they're awesome. So I do see myself reading some Warhammer as like some palate cleansers here and there throughout the year. That would be sick. And also some philosophy, because that's something that I've been interested in. I'm not a very great philosopher. I'm hesitant to call myself a practicing Stoic. I would like to adopt more of a Stoic philosophy on life, because Lord knows I need it. I'm not very good at it, but I've been trying to read into it and put it into practice, because you can only do so much reading about it, and it's kind of pointless unless you actually act on it. And that's sort of what I've been trying to do here and there. Again, not great at it, and that's why I'm hesitant to really talk about it, because I don't want to sound like a poser. But I'm trying a little bit. So there are a few philosophy books. I probably won't talk about it much on the channel, but if you follow me on Goodreads, you might see that I read some things here and there. I got Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I got that for Christmas from my parents. So that's something I wanted to read and come back to here and there. Study it a couple times a week. Come back to, and there's some other Stoic philosophy books that I did kind of want to study and get into. But yeah, I mean, that's about it. I mean, I guess I say philosophy, but nonfiction as a whole, if I can tie in some history books as well, that would be pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, I'm just the busiest I've ever been in my life as of late. I work several times a week now, because I'm graduated now, so I, have a job. Also, I'm supposed to be starting college here in the fall, hopefully. All the moving stuff kind of made plans murky for schooling, so I'm actively looking into that, figuring that out. So that's also going to cut time away from my hobbies as a whole. And, not all of my time, not every waking moment that I have free time is going to be spent reading novels. Again, I like to play games. I like to read comics and manga and stuff. So I'm really trying to take a step back this year and sort of incorporate a lot of my other hobbies. That's something that I really want to focus on and not feel bad about it, because you only got one life. So and this isn't a job of mine. It's just a hobby, so that's the main thing last year that really upset me, I guess, is just feeling bad about myself and about my channel, because I didn't have motivation to read all the time, and that it's okay, and that, for better or worse, that might be also why I stepped back from a lot of community stuff. I still would like to do some community discussions, maybe some live streams at some point. But I mean, I just don't know yet. Also, I have like a limited space here, so there's a lot of stuff about the channel, and especially with the community aspect, me doing videos with other booktubers and stuff like that. Also, my time zone is really weird now, so that also plays a big part. So that kind of sucks, doing any sort of collaborative content. But yeah, I'll see what I can do, but it might generally be unlikely. But yeah, guys, I mean, that's about it for today's video. Just talking about this year's plans, how I'm approaching reading and all that this year. Also, I guess before I wrap up, let's talk about buying books real quick, because I completely forgot about that. As far as buying books, again, I have a very limited space. This is a pretty small room, comparatively speaking to my last room. It's a little cramped, I will say. And I'm supposed to be here for a few years, so there's only, so many more books I can buy. And I need to choose which books I buy very carefully. So really anything that I'm gonna get is new releases of series that I already started reading, or, you know, stuff like series that I'm actively reading. I also, yeah, I mean, that's the only way that I'm gonna make this work. I am getting some Warhammer novels here and there that I'm gonna get to eventually, but that's just because, you know, I have an addiction, so I at least need something to get, you know what I mean? And I feel like me getting some Warhammer novels is a good excuse to spend my money and not get big hardcovers of stuff that I'm not getting to yet. I don't know, it makes sense in my head, but yeah. I am slowing down on buying books a lot. So book hauls aren't really in the books, you could say. Moving forward, just not for a while, not while I'm here. I might do like a little Warhammer book haul and show off the various novels I got pertaining to that. But yeah, that's just not something that I'm really going to be doing for a while, I don't think. So anyways, aside from that, that's about it for today's video. I hope you all enjoy hearing me ramble about my channel and about books and all that. And there is going to be another video, hopefully, coming out soon. I don't know exactly what day I'm going to post this, but I do have a few days off of work coming up here, so I might have time to upload and make that other video and all that. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy, and thank you for sticking around during my absence, and hopefully y'all continue to stick around. Just know, everyone, you know, I'm trying, and even if I don't upload all the time, I'm still trying to make things work for you guys, and for me. You know, I still like to have an outlet. So yeah, thank you all, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.